welcome back to the first edition of the Analytics with Arjun for the 2023-2024 season. For those of you who may not know who I am because you're just newly subscribed to the Guilty as Charged podcast per the Chargers podcast network, my name is Arjun Menon. I'm a senior at the University of Michigan. I wasn't doing videos over the summer because I actually just completed an internship with the New York Jets. It was something I've been working towards, my whole college career, and was lucky enough to be offered a spot with the New York Jets for the summer. Learned a lot, had a great experience, met some great people, but that internship has ended. Now I'm back at college and back to making videos about the Chargers. So, for those of you who haven't seen my videos throughout the season, basically I tried to scout opposing teams, put together tendencies, look at efficiency for formations, personnel, things like that. And so, we're going to jump straight into it with Miami week 1, do a game prediction, maybe even season prediction at the end. But I'm happy to be back with the Guilty as Charged boys. And again, had a really great summer. But now that I'm back in college, we're back to making videos like I was normally last year. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. For those of you who watched my videos last year, this is very similar to what I was doing last year. It's actually the exact same game plan. I'm actually working on something really cool that I think it's a much bigger step up from this. But obviously I just need I need some time having to move back into college, and also not really being able to work on it over the summer given my opportunity with the Jets. So again, this is just a game plan I put together. It's a really easy thing to go through, but I'm actually gonna not even talk about the Miami defense or even scout them because it is Vic Fangio's defense. There really is no point looking at the Dolphins defensive tendencies or numbers from last year. So I'm going to skip past that. We're going to jump straight into what Miami's offense looked like last year and how it could be similar or change for this upcoming season. So first things as first, we always look at their personnel packages. Miami ran the fourth lowest amount of 11 personnel last year. Now, this one's interesting because Mike Gesicki is, he's a tight end, but Miami used him in the slot a lot. So technically when they went 12 as much as they did, he was a big slot guy, right? But in reality, they were going 11. So this number, I would probably just add 46.43% plus whatever this bar is for 12 personnel. But the interesting thing about Miami's offense is they ran a lot of 21 personnel. And for those of you who, may not have seen the news, they just recently extended Alec Ingold. I think they gave him just below what Kyle Juszczyk is making. He is a big factor in what Miami tries to do on offense. And as you can see, I think they ran the most amount of 21 personnel last year of any offense. And I'm expecting that to continue given their offseason moves. And they didn't really add any tight end in the draft or in free agency. So, I think it's going to be a heavy dose of 11 and 21 personnel. Now we can see here that was actually the case. They ran 384 plays out of 21 personnel. Now, 21 personnel includes a standard like I formation or, under center where Alec Ingold's lined up as a fullback. It also includes pony packages, which I'm not sure if the Dolphins did all that much last year with Mostert and Matt Breida, or not Matt Breida, Mostert, Savon Ahmed, and then I think it was Myles Gaskin and then Jeff Wilson. I don't think they ran pony personnel that much or their pony packages, but they did use a lot of Alec Ingold. And so you can see, a lot of 11 and a lot of 21. Now, these numbers, again, for those of you who are new to the channel, my preferred method of evaluating offenses and defenses is by EPA per play. EPA stands for expected points added. Basically, we're putting a point total on how much a play is worth given the outcome of a play. So basically, to read this, when they were in one personnel, which is zero tight ends, one running back, the offense added about 0.35 points every single time they ran a play out of that personnel. When the offense was in 11 personnel, they only added about 0.018 points every single time they ran a play out of that personnel package. Miami, they were a very pass-heavy team. As you can see, they passed the ball over expected from every single personnel except 21, which you can expect when a fullback's on the field, you're going to run the ball more than expected. So Miami was a very pass heavy team last year with and without Tua. And that's the thing. I think these EPA numbers, this is including games that Teddy Bridgewater started. It's including games that Skylar Thompson started. And for the most part, the Dolphins were a very efficient offense, or pretty efficient offense with Tua up until that 4-week stretch where they played the Niners, the Chargers, the Packers, and the Bills, where every single game Tua ended up with a negative EPA per play. So for the most part, the Dolphins were a productive offense. Again, production doesn't equal quality QB play, as you know, many of us kind of watched last year. But yeah, overall, we can expect a lot of 11 and a lot of 21 personnel from the Dolphins. This is also something I like to look at, just how, and this is something you can pause if you're watching on YouTube, just how do the Dolphins kind of put players in with certain personnel. So you can see, when they were in 21, it was a lot of Alec Ingold. Of the 376 snaps, he was in on 21 personnel on 353 of these. So as I talked about the pony packages, you could see that we can estimate there's about 23 plays where they ran pony packages from 21 personnel based on him not being on the field. Given that there wasn't another fullback that saw the field for the Dolphins last year, again, those are two running backs on the field at the same time. Maybe other ones to take note. Mostert was the main guy in 11 personnel. He would, he's the guy that if you spread out the defense when you're in 11, he's the guy that can hit that hole and take it to the house given his long distance speed. Last year, you can see Gesicki was the main guy in 11. He was the tight end when they wanted to pass the ball. When they went a little bit heavier, when they went 12, it was more Durham Smythe. He was the guy that played more snaps in 12 personnel than Mike Gesicki. Now, obviously, Mike Gesicki's gone, so this kind of tendency is kind of useless. But as we go through the season, that's something to keep a note of. How we can read these tables and kind of understand what an offense looks like. Going back to formations, you can see here that the Dolphins, out of each offensive formation, they were the most successful out of pistol, which, given the sample size of at least 29 plays, that's kind of a fair sample size. But the important thing to note is when they were in pistol, they ran the ball about 27% more than expected, which is a huge number. But then when they went to shotgun, they passed the ball about 10 or about 11% more than expected. So again, those kind of tendencies I think are important to pick up on. They were pretty efficient running plays out of shotgun and running plays out of pistol. Not very successful under center. I think Tua is definitely a shotgun slash pistol quarterback. He's a guy that, catch the ball RPO or catch the ball one read slant, one read post, one read drift. When he's under center and he has to, do a 5 or 7 step drop and he has to maybe go through some progressions, the offense really wasn't that successful. And especially like out of empty, where you're spreading the defense out and you get to pick your poison, just the offense wasn't that productive. So I don't know what the Dolphins are going to do this year, especially losing Gesicki, but at least last year they were very, very efficient when running plays out of shotgun. Now looking at how the Dolphins perform throwing to each part of the field, look, for all the crap we give to, I think as a collective Chargers fan base, the Dolphins were very efficient throwing the ball over the middle of the field. When they threw it between 10 and 19 yards, they threw the ball in that area over the middle of the field 77 times, and they added about 7/10 of a point over the course of a season. So you can, do some maybe quick math that kind of comes to about over 50 points that they added throwing simply over the middle of the field within 10 to 19 yards. They were even more efficient throwing it deep over the middle of the field. And they threw that pass about 25 times. Where Tua was not efficient at all was short and behind the line of, well, no real quarterback is efficient throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage, but Tua really struggled, or the Dolphins offense in general really struggled throwing the ball right and short. So 1 to 9 yards, air yards, intended air yards, and then to the right side of the field. For Tua, again, he's throwing across his body in that direction, and the offense lost about 0.3 points every single time that he threw a pass or any quarterback threw a pass to their right. So again, very, very efficient offense at throwing over the middle of the field. Most Shanahan style offenses are, but the offense really did struggle throwing outside the numbers and especially short. Just looking at the Dolphins receiving weapons, obviously Waddle and Hill were the two main guys, very, very efficient guys. And the Dolphins didn't really add anyone noteworthy in free agency that I think the Chargers should be worried about. It's really just stopping these two guys, and that gets the job done. Looking at the Dolphins rushing efficiency, so you can see here they were very, very inefficient running the ball inside basically inside the A gaps. So the guard gap is between the center and the guard. So they lost about 0.2 points every single time they ran the ball. And that wasn't a small sample size. Like they kind of split up their rushing distribution evenly. 49 plays where they ran it to the left between the guard and center, and 51 plays where they ran it to the right between the guard and the center. And they were both very, very inefficient. Where they were super efficient was kind of those outside zone plays. So you can see they averaged a positive EPA when running towards the end, so outside of the tackles, both on the left and right side, more so on the right, which is interesting given that, Teron Armstead is playing on that left. They were just more efficient running to the right. Now, luckily, Chargers have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack for this game, so hopefully those edge runs should be contained a little bit more. And, if you're a friend of the pod, you've seen, or, this guy, MIBPJ2 on Twitter. We've had him on the pod before. Great guy. Absolutely love his stuff. I'm pretty sure he had a graphic that showed the Chargers are one of the worst teams historically at outside run on defense in the past like 10 or something years. So, I attribute most of that to having to play Chris Rumph and Kyle Van Noy extended snaps over Joey Bosa last year. But now that Bosa's healthy, now that Mac's healthy, they need to be able to stop some of these outside runs given how efficient the Dolphins were doing them. This is Dolphins stuff, and this is just some of the Dolphins rushers. So you can see, Jeff Wilson was their most efficient rusher by EPA. But Raheem Mostert had a higher yards per carry. Most of that, I think, is just being more explosive and having more touches that led to more yards. But by EPA, at least, Jeff Wilson added the most points to the Dolphins team. I'm not going to do the self-scouting just because, again, completely new offense for the Chargers. I guess the thing we can look at is that rushing efficiency, and you can look at this is it. This is the main thing. The Chargers were they were really bad at outside runs on defense. So offenses added about 0.3 points when teams ran to the left outside the tackles. They added about 0.45 points when teams ran to the right outside of the tackles. And those are the Dolphins' best run gap. So again, things to keep note of there. I have a couple graphs that I wanted to show just about Tua, because obviously that's, going to be a big point of contention. The first graph I'm looking at, again, all these graphs are coming from one of my great best friends, Judah Fortgang, goes by @ThrowTheDamnBall on Twitter. We interned with PFF last year, did some amazing work. This graph is basically looking at perfect coverage, QB production versus perfect coverage or not. Perfect coverage basically means every single coverage defender on a play did their job. And it's kind of a method that we developed at PFF, basically using PFF coverage grades. But you can see Tua was the best quarterback by far when any defender messed up. He added about 6 points every single play. A defender messed up their assignment or got graded negatively in coverage. But when every single player did their job perfectly on defense, he was the worst quarterback in the NFL. So game plan is simple. Don't mess up on defense, and you're going to get probably you're going to get a bad performance from Tua. Now, that's easier said than done. Most defenses mess up coverage about 60% of the time. So it's really just limiting the amount of mistakes you make, because Tyreek and Waddle have the speed to make you pay for any mistake you make on defense. The second graph, again, coming from my friend Judah, looking at middle of the field ADOT and accuracy. So again, Tua's in this bottom right. He throws the ball over the middle of the field pretty deep. He's averaging about 11 yards average at the 11 yards average at the target, but he was one of the least accurate quarterbacks when throwing over the middle of the field. He's going to give you opportunities to, to turn a pass into an interception. We saw that last year. There were multiple times he threw balls behind receivers. He threw balls into defenders' hands. There was the one pass on third down. It went through Kenneth Murray and Drew Tranquill's hands. There's going to be opportunities by Tua when he throws over the middle of the field. Yes, you're going to get some explosive plays. Yes, there are going to be plays where it's a play action drift swirl and you're going to have Waddle or Tyreek coming over the middle of the field on a crosser, and it's going to be open, but there are going to be plays where he skies the ball, throws it behind, and those are the balls the Chargers need to take advantage of. Okay, final graph is just looking at QB EPA versus disguised coverages. So you can see Brandon Staley, his whole MO, right, is he wants to make quarterbacks think. The problem is with the Dolphins, because they have so much speed, it's very tough if you rotate from one high to two high or two high to one high. If you're asking a lot of your safeties to kind of, pedal backwards into from single high to cover four, cover six, or you're asking a lot from your cornerbacks to kind of hold up in single high, but then you're rotating back to two high, or vice versa, right? And so defenses didn't really try to disguise their coverages as much on Tua because he was super efficient. Like the offense with him at quarterback was the most efficient offense in the NFL when teams tried to disguise their coverages on him. Now, a lot of his stuff is one read. And again, when you're disguising coverages, it's a lot of moving pieces. So I think, it's kind of just my theory with that, but because safeties are rotating or cornerbacks are rotating or linebackers having to go, hit the flats, because there are that many moving pieces, because Tua is kind of that one read point and shoot type quarterback, he does very well when, teams try to do too much. Instead, play more single high, play more, cover three, show cover three, and then, maybe play some man. I think Steven Ruiz, Deontay Lee wrote some pieces last year about how the Chargers defense really flummoxed Tua by showing man on early downs and then, going from, showing too high and then playing too high, but showing too high two man and then playing like cover four, cover six. So again, I don't think it's necessarily in the Chargers' best interest to kind of disguise their shells. It's really just making sure they execute because again, when defenses did execute against the Dolphins last year, Tua really did struggle. Okay, that's gonna wrap it up for my first episode back. Again, a little bit of a shorter one, I think, than my normal ones, but again, wasn't doing a Chargers self scout and didn't have anything on the Dolphins defense. Game prediction, I think the Chargers win this one. I think the offense is going to come out red hot. Teron Armstead, even if he plays, is going to be banged up. And we saw how good Bosa and Mack looked last year when they came into week one fully healthy. So I'm gonna go with a 30-24 prediction. Chargers win in SoFi 1-0. In terms of the season prediction, I'm very bullish on this offense. I'm not very bullish on the defense. I think they didn't really make any moves to improve the defense. And we just haven't seen Staley's defense really succeed over the course of a season. So I think season prediction, it's probably pretty stale and 10-7, make the playoffs. I'm not really sure what happens after that because with Justin Herbert, you have the chance to win any game, no matter how banged up you are. But it's just that defense, man. I can't really trust that run defense, and you don't really know how JC's going to come back. But again, really want to thank everyone for watching this video. First video back, hopefully first of many. And again, if you have any ideas, feel free to shoot them my way at Arjun 100 on Twitter. But again, until next time, Bolt out.